Alright, so today I am posting this video on reviewing the IEP and how we do that in ISM. Most of my videos up until this point have really been looking at initiating the IEP in ISM, so starting that IEP. And as time has gone on, there's been a lot of issues that have come up with reviewing the IEP. So I just wanted to address some of those issues and also give a huge thank you to all of the teachers and principals who take time out when I'm doing workshops or send me emails of the issues that they are having, so that I can address them to everybody at large in this kind of format. So I'm really highlighting some of the things in this video that have come up from the feedback that I've gotten so that other people don't continue to have the same issues. So that's where this video is coming from today. So that being said, there's going to be three aspects I'd like to look at today in talking about the review process. One of which is the team, the concept of doing it as a team all together at one time. The idea that we have to do it periodically, and that the IEP is there to update student progress. So in terms of the team, we're going to look at the review meetings created in ISM, how that's done, how it should be done in collaboration, and it really should be a team effort. Second, that it's done periodically, so that's obviously going to depend on the student, and it has to be realistic for the school team, the parents, the principal, and of course the student. How often are you going to review this IEP? And then lastly, the purpose of the IEP is to keep a record and track progress. So then why do we have an IEP? And that's something I'm going to address at the end. Okay, so first we're going to talk about the team aspect, and this has come up over and over again, especially at a very stressful time in the year for teachers when they have to review the IEPs or create them, etc., during those PED days. So it's really important that everyone is on the same page when it comes to the review meeting. And this is because these are some of the possible things that could happen. Too many review meetings have been opened, and this causes chaos in the system, which I'm going to talk about in a few more slides. So perhaps in the past, where teachers have had a PED day and they've been released to work on IEPs, they've gone in, they've opened the IEP, and then they just wrote in it. For what's happened in this new system is that people are doing the same thing, but they're creating a review meeting every time they want to go in and write something, okay? And that's not how we do it. One person, okay, would create a review meeting, and then everyone, just that one person does it. Okay, I'm going to show you what that looks like, all right, and why that's important. Why having too many meetings open causes chaos, all right? The second thing is that there's no review meetings made, which then causes chaos because it doesn't reflect the current conditions. Okay, that meaning that the teachers from last year will still appear on this year's IEP, that some of the goals don't really work this year, and that's because the review part has not taken place. Okay, so these are just some of the issues when it comes to the team. And when I say team, I mean that everybody who's responsible to the student for working on the IEP in conjunction with the student is on the same page as to what's happening with the IEP. Okay, a lot of this tends to happen because people are working in silos on their own and not really connecting about what's going on, or there's no point person in the school about IEPs. There's many different factors, okay? It depends on the school that you're in. And so this is one of the things I'm going to address. Okay. So this is one of the major things is that let's say it's November and we need to write IEPs, and then 3 teachers all open a separate review meeting, okay? So 3 separate review meetings are opened. And this is kind of what I feel like what's happening to the teachers on the other end of the phone when they're trying to ask me to fix the issues. Okay, it's like, what? That's what the system does. It freaks out. It has no idea what to do. Okay, and this is the reasoning behind that. All right, I'm going to get to that in a second. So, in a perfect world, a student's going to start school in a new year in September, and that's going to be when we open up initial or a review meeting. Okay, initial if it's the first time that the student has an IEP, and then every other meeting after that's going to be a review. Okay, so this is just an example. I don't really think that people meet 4 times a year to talk about that. They might, but typically I don't know if that's realistic. Okay, so there's a review meeting in September, a review meeting in December, nothing in January, a review meeting in March, and it's essential that there's a review meeting in June. And I say that because one of the issues that has come up is that if the IEP is not reviewed in June by that current teacher, okay, the next year the teacher, let's say the student was in grade 2, the grade 2 teacher did not review the IEP, the student goes into grade 3, the grade 3 teacher then has to review the IEP goals from last year because even if they're working on the same objective, okay, they have to change the teacher's name because the teacher is considered a mean. Okay, I have a very extensive video on this on my YouTube channel. But it's really imperative that at the end of the year, that current teacher reviews the objective either in the system or makes a note of it somewhere so that the teacher in the following year has something to go on when they have to review, because all the goals are going to have to be reviewed at the start of the new school year. Okay, so you can see in June, if there's no evidence or documentation or feedback given to the next year's teachers or left in the hands of the principal or whomever that person might be, then the teacher, when they have to review in September, really has nothing to go on. Okay, and that's troubling for some teachers, right? And you're going to see that once information is in this IEP, it's kind of locked in. Okay, so again, it's essential that the review process is done at the end of the year or some information is passed from one teacher to another. Okay. All right, so this is what that's going to break down, my timeline there, what that's going to look like in ISM. It looks clean. You can see that the first meeting was on the 9th of September. That's the initial. Then we had a review meeting in December. We had a review meeting in March. And we had a review meeting in June. Okay? So this is one of the issues. What happens when, let's say this was all these meetings were created on one day due to a mistake, okay, because 3 teachers went in and everyone created a meeting, is that in the initial, when we open up the initial meeting, let's say these 3 meetings are not there, we can edit any of the information that's in this initial meeting. Okay, we can delete the goals, we can change the spelling, we can add, we can subtract, we can do all those things. Okay, so we really have free range over the editing aspect in this initial meeting. Okay, once the initial meeting has been, this review meeting has been opened, this initial meeting we cannot access we cannot have access in order to change the information in there. Okay, so then what's in there becomes locked in the system. We can go back and review those things, but it can become very tedious when what we could have done is in just freely editing, we have to now go back and review because that mistakes have been made. Okay, so once this meeting has been opened, this meeting, the previous meeting, becomes locked down, and it keeps going like that. So again, it's really important that the whole team is on board with everything that is written in this initial meeting before the next meeting has been created. I'm going to say that one more time. It's essential that everything, once you create this review meeting, that means that you are comfortable, happy, and okay with everything that's been written in here, because now that's going to stay locked in the system. Okay, so that's one of the issues that has come up a lot with teachers, is that someone has just randomly created a review meeting not knowing, and it's just that, it's just that they don't know that once they do that, then all the information here becomes uneditable. Okay, so it's really important that everyone's on the same page as to when these review meetings are, and that everything in that document, that you're comfortable with everything that's in the document. Okay, so that's one of the major issues that has come up. All right, again, like I said, I have step by step how to do this in the review videos I have on YouTube, okay, on my YouTube channel, which is where you're viewing this now. So you can just go scroll through and look at for the review videos. All right, so periodically these things have to be reviewed, and I have my Bitmoji here of myself, and this is kind of the looks I get from people when we talk about how often you have to review IEPs. Okay, so really it should be at least twice, once at the beginning of the year, and like I had said before, even if it's just to change the teacher. This has become a major thing that has happened in this past year. I got many phone calls from teachers who have created new objectives or are currently working on the same objective, and it took me a few weeks to figure out that even if you're working on the exact same objective with a student from 2015, from the 2014-15 school year to the 2015-16 school year, you still have to review that objective and change the mean, because the teacher is a mean. And if you don't do that, then the teacher from last year is still going to print on the IEP. Okay, and this has become a major problem. If you want the current teacher's name to print on the IEP, you need to review it, change the mean, and check off the other teacher. Again, I have a video on my YouTube channel that explains this extensively, okay? And then again, at the end of the year, it's essential to review to give information to the next year's teacher. Because how are you going to decide whether last year's objectives have been met if there's no sharing of information, if it's not this constant feedback loop between the IEP team in terms of what the progress of the student is, okay? And then obviously for some of your higher needs students or special cases, the periodically could be quite often. Okay, you could be reviewing the IEP, I don't know, like monthly, or in special cases it could be, more frequently. Okay, so I don't want to necessarily give a specific amount of days. I think periodically is, we're going to use our professional judgment and do it as much as we need to, and what is realistic. But again, it should be done at least twice, and that's just to take care of kind of the housekeeping stuff in terms of how it looks, how it's printed, and who appears on there. Okay, so it's just some technical stuff that needs to happen even if the objectives remain the same. Okay, someone still needs to go in there and change the means so that the teacher who's currently teaching that student is reflected in the current IEP. Okay,